Christine Brennan is after making a suggestion for why DeWanna Bonner maybe left the Indiana Fever, and her reasoning is crazy if true.
So here's the thing nobody saw coming. Veteran legend Dana Bonner just got waived by the Indiana Fever after basically ghosting the team for weeks. But now a bombshell report from Christine Brennan suggests the real reason behind this drama might blow your mind. We're talking about something way deeper than basketball. What do you think really went down between Bonner and the Fever? Drop your theories in the comments.
The DeWanna Bonner situation is one of the most unprofessional things I have ever seen in any level of professional sports, and it has to be addressed. If you're not familiar, DeWanna Bonner is cut from the Indiana Fever. We have just waived her, and we've brought back Ari McDonald. DeWanna Bonner has not played in the last few Indiana Fever games, and we were all thinking it was because of personal reasons. And all us Indiana Fever fans were thinking it was something big. I even said on a few of my live streams, hey.
All right, let's break this absolute mess down, because honestly, this whole Dana Bonner situation with the Indiana Fever is wilder than anyone expected. The 37-year-old veteran was waived by Indiana on Wednesday after appearing in just 9 games. But the real tea comes from what Christine Brennan just revealed about why this all went sideways. First, let's get our facts straight about what actually happened here. Bonner signed a 1-year deal with Indiana in the offseason and was expected to be a key veteran piece to star alongside Caitlin Clark in the UPenn coming in Fever. This wasn't some random pickup. This was supposed to be the missing piece that would help stabilize this young team around Clark's second professional season. But here's where it gets spicy.
Learned yesterday that DeWanna Bonner had no intention of coming back to the Indiana Fever. So initially we were wondering, hey, what is the reason? And the media has been feeding us this lie. The main reason why DeWanna Bonner is dipping out is because she wants to be in a starting position, and maybe she's mad about Lexi Holt outperforming her. Maybe she's mad about the fact that she's not getting the position of Natasha Howard on the team, and she's just been benched because she has not been playing well. They've also been saying that the fit is not well because she's a very slow player in a team that likes to play really fast. These are good concerns, and these are true probably to a certain extent, but that's not the end of it. What they've been trying to hide is the fact that DeWanna Bonner is leaving to go play with her wife.
According to multiple league sources, Dana Bonner has no interest in returning to play for the Fever, and she basically disappeared from the team, citing personal reasons for weeks before getting the axe. Now, we've all seen players have issues with teams before, but what Christine Brennan dropped about this situation is absolutely wild.
As much as Christine Brennan does very much lean anti-WNBA, she's still Christine Brennan. Like, I know a lot of people want to say, oh, Christine Brennan is this, Christine Brennan is that, but at the end of the day, Christine Brennan is Christine Brennan. She is arguably the most important female sports journalist of all time.
Brennan, who's basically the most respected female sports journalist on the planet, went on ESPN and shared some insider information that's got everyone talking. And look, before we get into this, we need to acknowledge that Brennan has serious credibility. Here, she's not some random blogger making stuff up. This is someone whose reputation would be absolutely demolished if she was just throwing around baseless rumors.
So here's what she said about DeWanna Bonner.
Look at DeWanna Bonner, and there's reporting on her, and I don't have any inside reporting. So DeWanna Bonner was brought in by Stephanie White, the new coach, formerly a Fever player and coach as well, for the Fever, brought from Connecticut, and she wanted to bring her star veteran, 37-year-old DeWanna Bonner, as a stabilizing influence. A leader went out in 2 games in the playoffs, and they needed more depth and more leadership and more veteran savvy, etc. So that's the decision that Stephanie White makes. Within a couple of games, DeWanna Bonner is not playing well, and then she disappears, and then she's literally now gone and says she doesn't want to play, and she wants to trade, and
so
we'll see what's happening with Phoenix and all of that.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but the little...
we know up to that point. We know she was playing badly.
So here's the bombshell that Brennan revealed. It's just a super hot spotlight, and instead of loving it and going with it and making money, because Caitlin can't do every supermarket gig, they're all getting all that stuff, the Fever players, because Caitlin can't do everything. And so this is a great life for them, and Bonner couldn't handle it, or didn't want it, or was getting to her.
This next part is the crazy part. And this next part is why I'm making this video. Because up to this point, from what Christine Brennan said, and this is Christine Brennan on ESPN LA, and the video titled Christine Brennan thinks Caitlin Clark can do the unthinkable.
Little clue here. I was at that game May 17th, that home opener for for the Fever against Chicago, and they just absolutely steamrolled them over 30 points. Great game by the Fever. And Bonner made it third all time at scoring, and had like some points. Her interview right afterwards, it's a joyous moment, right? I mean, we've all seen these interviews. Ramona, you've done them. I've done them. We were talking to the player. This is easy stuff, and she goes, "I was shocked." She said at the crowd. I've never seen anything like this. Never experienced anything like this before. And I thought, what an interesting thing to say. Honest, yay, we love honesty. Yeah. But she's 37 and she's never seen anything like this. She meant is 17,000 people, packed house, going crazy. They know their basketball, and they love you, and they love Caitlin, and they love everything about the team that Bonner is now on. Great, okay. And in talking to a source or two, it appears that Bonner was unable to, in some way, shape, or form, just deal with that spotlight.
Well, you're telling me that a veteran who's been in this league for 16 years, who's won championships, who's literally seen everything, couldn't handle the spotlight that comes with playing alongside Caitlin Clark? That's actually kind of crazy when you think about it. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Brennan recalled a specific moment that now makes perfect sense in hindsight after her first home game, the Fever, May 17th. Dana Bonner, 37, said, "The crowd kind of shocked me a little bit. This is my first time playing in this kind of environment." Think about that for a second. This is Dana Bonner. We're talking about a player who's been an all-star 6 times, who's played in big games, who's been in championship runs. And she's saying she's never experienced anything like what happens at Indiana Fever games now that Caitlin Clark is there. That's honestly wild. Now, let's be real about what the Caitlin Clark effect actually means for the Indiana Fever. We're not talking about normal WNBA crowds here. We're talking about packed arenas with 17,000. Screaming fans who know basketball and are absolutely losing their minds for this team. The energy is completely different from anything the WNBA has traditionally seen. And here's the kicker. Brennan's theory is that instead of embracing this massive spotlight and the opportunities that come with it, Bonner just couldn't adapt to that level of attention and pressure. Think about it. When you're playing with Caitlin Clark, you're not just playing basketball anymore. You're part of a cultural phenomenon. Every game is nationally televised, every move is scrutinized, and the expectations are through the roof. The sarcastic part of me wants to say, really, a veteran player couldn't handle success? But honestly, this makes more sense than people want to admit. Not everyone is built for that level of spotlight. We've seen it in other sports. Players who can perform when nobody's watching but crumble when the lights get too bright. Bonner averaged 7.1 points and 3.8 rebounds per game before being waived by the Fever earlier this week. Those aren't terrible numbers, but they're definitely not what you'd expect from a player of her caliber. She went from being a consistent contributor to looking lost on the court, and now we might know why. What makes this even more fascinating is the timeline of how everything went down. Bonner signed a 1-year contract with the Fever in February and started in the first 3 games of the 12-25 season. On May 17th, she became the 3rd all-time leading scorer in WNBA history with 7,189 points. So she hit this incredible milestone, had that moment where she talked about being shocked by the crowd, and then everything just fell apart from there. She got benched after 3 games, started coming off the bench, and then basically vanished from the team entirely. Bonner has not played since June 10th due to personal reasons, and now we're finding out that those personal reasons might have been her just not being able to deal with the circus that surrounds Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Here's what's really telling, though, the business side of this. Brennan pointed out that being on the Fever with Caitlin Clark is basically a gold mine for endorsements and appearance fees. Clark can't do every commercial, every appearance, every autograph signing, so her teammates get opportunities they'd never have on any other team. Most players would kill for that kind of exposure and those financial opportunities, but apparently Bonner wanted no part of it, and honestly, that's her choice, but it's also kind of mind-blowing. We're talking about a player at the tail end of her career who could have cashed in big time, but instead chose to walk away because the spotlight was too intense. The really wild part is how this all connects to the broader Caitlin Clark phenomenon. We've seen the numbers. Her games draw massive television audiences, sell out arenas, and generate social media buzz that the WNBA has never experienced before. But what we're learning is that not everyone can handle being part of that machine. Think about what Bonner was supposed to bring to this team. Clark spoke glowingly about the 6-time All-Star who the Fever acquired on a 1-year deal in February as part of the team's effort to retool their roster and add more experienced vets to support Clark. Clark literally said, "Just the way she talks and she leads for me as a second-year point guard, I want to win for her. This is the end of her career. She deserves it." That's some heavy praise from Clark, and it shows how much the team was counting on Bonner to be that veteran leader, but instead of rising to the occasion, it seems like she wilted under the pressure of being part of the Caitlin Clark show now. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Here, some people are going to say this is all speculation and that Brennan doesn't have concrete sources for this theory, and you know what, they might be right to be skeptical. But here's the thing. Christine Brennan doesn't just throw stuff out there without some basis in reality. She's too smart and too experienced to risk her reputation on complete nonsense. Plus, when you look at all the pieces of this puzzle, Brennan's theory actually makes a lot of sense. Bonner's comments about being shocked by the crowd, her declining performance on the court, her sudden disappearance from the team, it all fits with someone who just couldn't handle the intensity of being part of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. What's really interesting is how this reflects the broader challenges the WNBA is facing right now. The league is experiencing unprecedented growth and attention largely because of Clark, but not everyone in the league is equipped to handle that level of scrutiny and pressure. Some players are thriving in this new environment while others are struggling to adapt. And here's where it gets a bit sad, honestly, after she missed 4 straight games due to personal reasons, reports indicated. Bonner wasn't happy with her role and had no interest in returning to the Fever. This is a Hall of Fame player. We're talking about someone who should be enjoying the twilight of her career, but instead she's walking away from what could have been an incredible opportunity. The aftermath of all this has been pretty telling too. Bonner posted a note to social media on Thursday to address the criticism she's facing after parting ways with the Fever. "A quitter, nah, never been that," Bonner wrote on Instagram. "But when the time comes, let's just make sure the apologies are just as loud as the disrespect." You can tell she's frustrated by how this whole situation has been perceived, and honestly, I get it. Nobody wants to be labeled as someone who quit when things got tough. But at the same time, if Brennan's theory is correct, then Bonner basically did quit because she couldn't handle the spotlight that comes with playing alongside one of the biggest stars in basketball. The business implications of this are huge too. Bonner was one of the most sought-after free agents this past offseason, ultimately signing a 1-year, $200,000 deal with the Fever. Teams were lining up to get her services, and she chose Indiana specifically to play with this group. But now she's been waived, and other teams can potentially pick her up for nothing. Those same sources indicated Bonner's preferred landing spots are with the Phoenix Mercury or the Atlanta Dream. It's interesting that she wants to go to teams where she can be more of a focal point rather than playing second fiddle to a superstar. That kind of supports Brennan's theory about not being able to handle the Caitlin Clark spotlight. What this whole situation really highlights is how much the WNBA has changed because of Caitlin Clark. The level of attention, the pressure, the expectations, it's all completely different now. Some players are embracing it and benefiting from it, while others are finding out they're not cut out for this new reality from a team perspective. This has to be frustrating for the Fever. They brought in Bonner specifically to be that veteran presence who could help guide this young team, and instead they got 9 games and a whole lot of drama. Now they're scrambling to replace her production and leadership with the Indiana Fever. Signed back Ari McDonald for the remainder of the season after Dana Bonner was let go. The really wild part is thinking about what could have been if Bonner had been able to adapt to the spotlight and embrace her role on this team. The Fever could have been legitimate contenders. Instead, they're dealing with chemistry issues and trying to figure out their rotation on the fly. And let's be honest about the elephant in the room here. This whole situation probably doesn't happen if Caitlin Clark wasn't on the team. That's not a knock on Clark at all, but it's just the reality of what comes with being a generational talent who brings unprecedented attention to your sport. What's particularly fascinating is how this connects to some of the broader tensions we've seen in the WNBA around Clark's popularity and success. There's clearly some resentment from certain players and media members about the amount of attention Clark receives, and maybe Bonner just couldn't deal with being constantly in that conversation. The timing of all this is particularly brutal too. The new look Indiana Fever roster will face off against the LA Sparks on Thursday, looking to improve on their record 77 with a chance to go above 500 tours for the first time this season. They're right in the thick of the playoff race, and they're having to deal with this distraction and roster upheaval. Looking forward, this whole situation is probably going to serve as a cautionary tale for other veterans who might be thinking about joining teams with superstars. The money and exposure are tempting, but you better make sure you're mentally prepared for what comes with that territory. So there you have it, Christine Brennan's theory about why Dana Bonner really left the Fever. Whether you buy into the spotlight explanation or think there's more to the story, this whole situation shows how much the WNBA has changed. What's your take? Like this video if you found it interesting, and subscribe for more WNBA drama and analysis.